One of the questions that people ask after an accident is the other driver going to go to jail? And the answer to that is usually not. And the reason for that is because most of the time in an accident, people just made a mistake. You know, they either hit you from behind, or they turned left in front of you, or they T-boned you. You know, they didn't see a stop sign or a stoplight. And so there are only certain circumstances where the other driver would go to jail, and that involves serious violations of the law. The first one primarily being driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. It could also involve some kind of reckless behavior other than driving under the influence, like reckless driving or street racing. Another option potentially for them going to jail is if they already had outstanding warrants for other violations of the law, or another couple of possibilities are if they didn't have their driver's license or insurance information. But usually those would involve just some kind of a ticket. And in most cases, unless somebody dies, really, it's not going to involve jail time. It might involve, dealing with the legal process on the criminal side, but it's not going to involve jail time. So whether you want them to go to jail or whether you don't want them to go to jail, the answer is usually another driver is not going to go to jail unless they killed somebody, typically. So typically a car crash case is what's called a civil case as opposed to a criminal case. And unless, like I said, under those circumstances that we talked about where they had a serious violation of the law, somebody died, there was reckless behavior, either driving under the influence. And so a criminal case differs from a civil case. In a civil case, all we're talking about is money, right? We're talking about you getting compensated for the damages you've experienced as a result of the car accident, versus criminal cases where they've done something wrong that wasn't just an accident. It was, driving under the influence or reckless driving. And the law says you were naughty and you need to pay with either fines or some kind of community service or those kinds of things, or even jail time. But typically, a civil case, all we're dealing with is compensation, and the other side's probably not going to go to jail. So to sum that up, is the other party going to go to jail? Usually not. But that does, and that doesn't mean that if there was criminal behavior that you can't still go ahead and get compensated. And so those are really two separate questions. What we try to help you with is to go after their insurance and get you paid for the damages you have incurred, as for bodily injury and pain and suffering and all those sorts of things after an accident. And we kind of leave the criminal stuff to the prosecution and the cops, and we're dealing with insurance.